just read book one of the Fates of Atten series, The Waking of Storm and Flame. The author reached out to us and sent us both a copy of this book to check out for an honest review. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to start off with the cover here. I like the stained glass look.
Me too. The whole like mosaic feel, and his
Yeah.
whole series has that, which is very
Mosaic
unique.
is what I wanted to say.
It's okay. We don't all have the same grasp of the English language.
You're a villain.
Thank you. Happy to help.
Anyway, we knocked this one out pretty quick. I think I don't know how long it took us, a couple of days maybe. But,
yeah, it's not super long, 400-ish pages.
Yeah, so like a normal fantasy book. This is book one of 5. There's quite a few in this series, and this one kicks it off. So we are going to go ahead and kick it off by starting with our character development. Decoder can't get the book to stand up. Wow,
I'm having a
it's only
Curtis
been me
problem
for
right
how
now?
many years? Yeah,
I
not
normally
years,
have more
months.
junk right here that balances it.
Hmm.
What's the problem? It's fine. It's literally fine.
Speaking of,
It's a night.
Dakota got me a little statue. Apollo Knight.
I did. For his birthday.
It's so cute.
Happy birthday.
Dang, I was sweating and I was like, dang, I feel like normally I'm not sweating. I forgot I had a fan.
And now the fan's on.
Stupid. Anyway, character development.
Okay. The I wanted a little more from character development. I gave this one a 0.5. We had a good cast of characters, very unique. Each character served a different purpose. We had the main 3, which were Alira, Kale, and Zahara. They were siblings, right? I felt like we saw Alira face quite a bit of trials, but I don't know that we necessarily saw like significant growth from her because of the trials. Kind of felt like she had the same reactions to every situation, and I wanted to see her like mature a little bit through those trials.
I had a hard time remembering her age because she kind of seemed pretty immature at times. It was like, oh, she's like a 13-year-old like younger sister. I'm like, wait a minute, she's like almost 30 or something. I'm pretty sure.
I thought she was like 20.
I don't know. That
Yeah,
point.
but that was a
I don't
big
know how
part
old
of it
she was.
too. She definitely she was definitely a bit whiny.
Because she had some like moments where I was like, oh, okay, like we're like maturing, we're making some good like leadership decisions, and then she would like charge into battle and get everyone around her killed. I was like,
what are you doing?
Okay, this was a choice. There was a point where she ran into battle, got all of her friends killed. It's like, oh, okay. Then she goes, man, I shouldn't have done that, but I learned my lesson. Immediately does it again and gets her brother. Why? We just had the consequences.
I should have done that, but I learned my lesson.
Anyway, I am intrigued to see how power scaling is going to go in this, because I feel like a lot of the time they got into a sticky situation and they just slapped on the ring or used like their sword of Tempest and kind of clutched the moment. So I'm wondering how the characters, if they're going to grow physically or if the gods are going to, or fates are going to grow type thing. Like where do we head from here?
Yeah, I think he set it up well. I think he explained that like as they become more in sync with their fate,
and they have to use the right one. Like she was using the ring and she wasn't that person.
As they become more in sync with their deity, they'll have control over the element that matches. So,
but I also gave it a half point. I feel like we could have used more, and it was a little bit. I think my favorite character was Zara.
Yeah, Zara was cool.
You know who she reminded me of is a little bit of our friend in Dandelion Dynasty.
What? Jin, not Jin.
Jin, right?
Kuni's wife or the general?
The general.
Yeah, Jin.
Yeah. I liked her. She was the one that made the most sense in my head. Where I'm like, this character is on track.
Dang, you just gave me a flood of Dandelion Dynasty memories.
They all flooded back for me too. The second I said it, it was like
teeth on the board,
like flashing, like when you see like name this movie in 10 seconds and it plays every scene.
That series was so rewarding.
Unique New York, originality and creativity. I gave this a 1. I thought personally, I felt it did things well enough where it felt. Even though like there was, having like gods use like their bloodline or pawns before, I felt like it was at least what it was done with, having each item correspond to like a bloodline and to a god, and that there's 5 on one side and 4 on the other, 5 on the other. Either way, the overarching story I feel like is worthy of originality. And I thought it was unique. We kind of started with the battle first. We're like 2 chapters in, and it's like, hey, let's go to war. I was like, I don't know why we're here or why we're fighting, but I'm ready to kill.
Yeah, it jumped right in. Said, let's do it. Let's get into it.
Let's just fight the baddies.
What could possibly go wrong?
Did you give it a 1 as well? Where'd you land on that?
Yeah, I gave that one a 1 as well.
Lit fam dad.
Engaging storyline.
I give it a half point. I feel like the reason I gave it a half point is because of another category that made this category harder. I feel like for me, it could use more world building. So the engaging storyline, I like that we started with the battle, but I feel like we didn't get enough context before the battle or during the battle to necessarily know why we were fighting these people. So the whole time I'm like,
Yeah,
this is cool.
but why are we here?
I want to care more about these people dying, but I don't know them. I don't know where they're from. I don't
Yeah,
know who they're fighting or why we have beef with them. And eventually we get like some tidbits, but I just felt like throughout we were like always a little bit behind where we should have been for me to be like, I just feel like I need more to know.
to know. It's sometimes tough to separate this category out from both world building and pacing for me because like part of me being engaged has to do with the pacing and the world building. So it's so intricately woven. I also gave a point 0.5 here. I was engaged and there was plenty going on that kept me interested, but it's again, this I really wanted more reasons to care about like the backstory and the background. I don't know. I'm trying to decide if I want to dock other places and maybe give it more engaging storyline because I was interested, but I did no, I guess not. I guess I'm going to keep it at point 0.5 because while I was interested, it's like you alluded to as well. I needed more backstory reasons to continue to be engaged, to be like fully immersed, I would say.
Yeah, I think the outline was there for me to enjoy the points along the way, but I feel like we're missing some meat.
Meat and taters.
Yeah, meat taters. So half point there. Story
Same.
end and wrap up. How did you feel on the tail end of things?
Um, I felt like we didn't really start to understand much of the world until the end, and that it only left more questions while not really. This is another tough one because to judge it on just a book one alone, I want to see it like wrap up all of the problems that opened in the book while also setting up for the future. And it wrapped up like the bad. Did it wrap up the battle with the Essians?
Allegedly, because the big bad at the end was like they're off the board. They're no longer part of my group. Now we're a unit of 6 instead of 7. Not unit. Empire.
Yeah, I ended up
Um
giving story end a point 0.5 as well because I wanted more connection between like the trials and the resolution as well as future setup.
I also gave it a half point. I think, and this is, I don't know if this is a personal thing or if this is a gripe, just in general, where you have a baddie that is actively like killing our main character, like clearly gonna win, and then because they were like choking the life out of Alira and like she couldn't breathe and turning blue, and then he just like dropped her to monologue or something. It's like, why are you not just killing her right there? If you have all like, there was no reason not. So like I don't know, to me, I was like, it felt like huge plot armor, which is fine.
Yeah,
But that was a little like disarming for me when I was reading. But yeah, I think the problem was that there was a lot of setup for like things to happen. And a lot of the problems that were resolved were problems that we just learned about, so it felt like we solved them quickly. And then
yeah,
a lot of the problems that are left were or from the beginning are like for future books. So we didn't get to see there wasn't like a main problem in this book. This is about that I just talked myself to where I wanted to be. So there wasn't like a huge main big bad or problem in this book because we didn't as like the main character was learning, they didn't know anything about. So we just finally learned about the big bad at the end. Like chapter 3 we're in this battle with the Essians that we only saw for half the book and then they were just kind of gone, like wiped out like on the side with like all these different battles and we came back and we saw some different things with them, but then they were kind of died. So they were like not even like the real big bad. So there's no big finale because we didn't actually kill or do
yeah.
a big death or a big
Yeah, it made the resolution, I guess, relatively unsatisfying because the problem wasn't like a pronounced like this is the main trial that we're gonna solve.
I feel like this is almost I know it's not meant to be this way, so this is me just talking out of my ass. And I'm not meaning to be like offensive or anything. I feel like this reads as a
You
prequel
are.
almost. To
Yeah,
where we're getting like a lot of background on the world and everything, and now that we have a lot of information, now the real story is like heading off. Like we just got out of like this really like this prologue type thing. Is how it felt.
yeah, yeah. That's a really good. What am I looking for? What word is on the tip of my tongue?
Point.
No, I mean it is a good point. It's a good point that like I don't know. I lost my train of thought. My word play is gone. But yeah, I gave this category a point 0.5. Did you
World
give it a point?
building and setting. I gave it a half point. For story. World building and setting. I feel like the problems that I felt this book had stemmed from this category. I feel like this category, the lore that we got wasn't necessarily important when we got it. At times when we needed important lore, and we started off the story with no lore at all, so we didn't know what was going on. We didn't really have any character development at this point yet. Very very minor with like Kale. And then we started off right in the battle, but we went like right from the castle to the battle. So we were missing a lot of setting plots too. I feel like there was a couple times we were in the battle was fine, but anytime there wasn't a battle, I felt like I was trying to like I had to really figure out what was around them and like
Yeah.
there was like no imagery or scenery that I had to like figure out myself. So I feel like it was just lacking in like those things there that I would have been more engaged if we would have had that. I feel like if we would have had more world building, like the character development might have been better. It might have been a little bit deeper of a book. We might have liked the ending a little bit better because we had
Yeah. I mean,
backgrounds on the gods.
the world building and setting could have built like more engagement for us, more immersion. I,
I like the
uh,
stones idea though.
Me too. Yeah, this category was really tough because I struggled twofold. In one, the biggest struggle I had with this book was that I felt like we needed to know more at like all times, and not like weirdly, like not informationally, but like contextually to care about like not like I need you to give me more
Contextually.
information, but I need you to give me more context so I have a reason to understand like why this stuff matters, right? Like why is this a big deal? You need to make the people like the citizens of Namel of is that what it was?
I
Namel?
believe so.
I needed to care about them. They need to feel real. And I think part of that was the setting, that we didn't have a lot of descriptive language as we went from place to place, which made it hard to differentiate, especially because it was like a sprawling fantasy world. So I couldn't like necessarily picture what the climate and the setting was as the characters traveled around. So that was tough. I did give it a quarter point for the development of the fates and the like whole lore building there. That was there. It was done. They added the whole thing with the bloodlines and how each bloodline has their own artifact and how different
For
bloodlines
sure.
can use different artifacts, but that it might not be as effective. So I gave that a quarter point because that was some good lore building, but ultimately I docked it for the setting and not having fully fleshed out world building.
I think you had a good point with the whole like there wasn't enough context because I feel like people just in general will be like, "Oh, this person doesn't have like a crazy amount of exposition. This isn't an 800-page fantasy book. There must not be a lot of lore. This must not be good." You don't need 800 pages. There are some like fantastic like it can be simple and still hit all of those marks like perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a line you have to figure out. And I'm not talking about this book in general. I'm just talking about your point. That's
Yeah.
a good point to bring up, like for the future, like context versus.
Yeah.
And I
I
think
feel
that's what
like
this is.
I'd like to think I'm growing, but it's my favorite thing to be like, I needed an exposition, I needed a big lore jump. And that's not always necessarily required, but I think the context is, right? Like, even if I'm not getting answers about the world, because maybe they're not going to be revealed till a later book, I still think I need more context for our character's life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you.
Good
I'll
for
be here
you.
all night.
Yeah, you won't. You'll be in bed. Pacing and structure. How you feeling there?
The pacing was, I felt like the pacing was good. I didn't have a problem with pacing. I felt like the structure was a bit rough in the same way that I felt like I was missing context. It was like, it felt like we were just dropped into an already existing story that I should have understood more about. And we went straight into battle and people were dying. And I was like, that's cool, but like, I don't have a reason to care about these people that are dying.
Yeah, I think it creates almost like without the context, you have that structure because you're kind of ping ponging from point to point then where you're like, okay, we're at the next thing and things are happening, but I don't know how we necessarily how we got here or why we got here. Because there were times when the character explicitly said what they were doing, where they were going, but like
Yeah.
there was no like line from A to B. It was just teleporting from A to B type. But I thought the pacing was fine too. I
Yeah.
actually
So I
the
get a
pacing
point
got
five. Emotional impact. How'd you feel?
emotional impact. Emotional impact. I feel like it's hard. I gave it the full point, and I gave it the full point because the emotions of the characters were there. I had no doubt that the characters were feeling what they were feeling. Normally I feel like I have an issue with it not translating off the page, like for me, but I feel like that's already been docked somewhere else. Like I don't think that this is because of where it is here. So I think it deserves the full point. I mean, you have Alira going through a ton of emotions the whole book. Especially with all the loss and having to take up a new role and everything like that, and especially Zara, I feel like had to as well. Kale had like the whole emotions too of growing up, becoming king, and having to like isolate from his family and do what the whole duty versus what you want to do type thing. You know, you gotta step up.
Yeah.
So I would say it was there. I would give it the
I gave it a 0.75
okay.
because while there was a lot of emotion that I think was written well, I think the bridge for it translating for me was the context I was missing. So I feel like that's worth mentioning. Like I gave it almost a full point with a 0.75, but to make it fully translate to me as a reader, I needed to care more about the people and the places. But I do recognize that like he killed a lot of his characters and
Big fan of that.
he made a lot of authentic emotional situations for our characters in like losing family members and like finding long lost family members. So reunions, alliances. It was the emotion was there. I just felt like I needed more context for it to be perfect.
Point writing style and prose.
This
I would like you to go first.
I see what you did there. It was a
Thank you.
nice little swoop swoop. I had weird feelings about this category, and I don't really know how to put my finger on it. So I'll just talk around it in circles, and then you can help me maybe translate it to normal person English.
Yes, yes, yes.
I felt like he was a good writer and that the way the book was written well. In that I was never like, I wasn't lost between points or confused about what was happening. And oftentimes, especially in indie books, it's really easy for like something that we've talked about with Jordy and with other indie authors is that you as a writer have to state things way more times than you think you do for your reader to understand it. And I think that when you're an indie writer, it's easy to only state stuff like once or twice and be like, I said it, but like it's really easy to forget or miss when something's only stated once. And as a reader, I think we often need like multiple reiterations of the same concept. Like I'm trying to think of an example
So
like
I see
like
what like. It's almost like kicking a rock down a road, right? Like you want the rock to be smooth. So every time like you mention the same thing, you're kicking this rock, right? But every
yeah.
time you mention it again or a different way, you're rounding out that rock until like that point is like driven home.
Yeah, even if you say the same thing, right? Like I know there's
Yeah.
examples of oh, you know what? Two examples, two fun examples. Quain
Am I
Trail
gonna be
does it.
misborn? Oh,
Quain Trail does it with Asher a lot. He in the first three books, he frequently restates things about Asher and about his like training, right? Like as an Arakesh, that like we know because it's been said over and over and over again. But it's like his reflexes were honed. Like it just says things that we already know over and over again about him being accomplished, about him being a good fighter, about him like assessing a situation when he walks into a room. And it's like, we know this, but he says it again. And the other example I'm going to use is how often Pierce Brown says how often he makes Darrow say, I'm a hell diver of Lycos, right? And it's like that's to the point where it could almost be too much.
there's a line, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There's a
yeah.
line.
But like I think that that's often lost. I'm gonna bring this. I'm gonna land the plane here. I think that's often lost on indie writers because they're learning how to write and they're like, I've said this 5 times. If I say it again, it's too many times. But that's not true. I think that as a reader, I think we need things to be said over and over and over again so we can build the full rounded picture in our head. Anyways, I, in this book, was never lost, and I was not like between points, I wasn't confused. Whereas in a lot of indie books, I feel like when they only say things once, it's really easy to miss and you get lost. So I wasn't lost, and I understood all the points he was making. It was just that lack of context and that lack of information that I struggled with. So I liked his prose. I liked the way that he worded things and I liked his style, but I'm not quite sure how to judge this category in a way that like I'm giving it a 0.5 because he didn't reveal information to me in a way that let me understand the full picture of his story. But from point A to point B to point C, I was never lost or confused. And when his characters were speaking, I was never like, that didn't make sense. So it's tough.
So I think his
That's my
writing
rant.
that's a, I like everything you said. I also gave it a half point. I think that I mean, this is his first book, right? And I think that, like, as stupid as it sounds, like, it's like good bones. Like I said, this is a very good prequel. I think that we we'll see like improvement in like future books. And I think like once he finds his footing, because my issue was the way the character spoke to me was so like back and forth. Like the characters would, especially Alira, would like talk out loud and it would be this like almost high noble fantasy speak where he would have or she would have
Yeah, like
it would
medieval
just be high
speak.
noble medieval speak, yeah. And then like she would talk in her head. I'm like, who's this whiny 13-year-old? And I get that's like in her head and she's trying to like speak out loud, like for everybody else and seem older than she is. But like it was so inconsistent because it wasn't just her, but that was my example. Where how they were speaking wasn't how they were thinking. And it just was
Yeah,
very
that was interesting.
it was every time it happened, it was just like my brain would have to like reread it. And it's like, why am I like struggling reading what you're saying? And so I think I'm docking for prose on that point. His writing style is good, but I think his prose, for me, not necessarily that it was bad, but I think just for me was a little like disjointed. So I feel like it just made it harder for me
Fair
personally.
enough.
It could have been a me problem. It was a me problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's what we do is just inherently subjective, right? Like I said, I didn't have problems with his prose per se, and when his characters were speaking, didn't I definitely did understand what you're saying about the characters like speaking and thinking differently. That was a bit weird. It was like weirdly inauthentically introspective when they were suddenly like in their heads, and I was like, it's a bit of an immersion break, but out loud, the prose itself was fine. I needed more. I needed him to weave his story in a more contextual manner.
Agreed.
Point five.
Meaningful themes and depth. I also give a point five on. I feel like themes were there. We had like the basis for the themes. It again just would have been deeper if there's more context. I had a hard time feeling that this was like more than what it was because I was like taken out of the book so often that I just feel like it was a bit more on the show. But like it's working its way like there. I could tell like as like the book went on, I'm like because like I think we talked like when we first started at like 25%. Were we missing something like this when we talk about the context? And then like that next like I don't know 60% I was like locked in. I'm like, okay, like things are happening, things are moving. And then at the end, I also felt like we were missing the context. So I feel like it had the potential to be there. I just think we missed the mark. But I think it's because of context again. Like if I had to break it down for myself, which I hate taking points away for like the same thing, but like it affects every category,
Yeah, it's tough.
which, one of those things where I want to fairly rate it.
Yeah,
So
different approach for me. I felt like the themes were too on the nose and not like fully explored throughout character trials. And I mean, context was a part of it. But we've said that over and over again. But like we very clearly had like light and dark themes and like finding yourself, like Alira becoming her own person. They just didn't feel fully fleshed out. And that was the contextual part of it. But it was like really, really obvious themes that I didn't feel like were properly explored through our characters.
good point. Rereadability and lasting impact. I personally did give this one 0. I liked what we like the bones of this book. I just don't think there was enough dead horse context and meat in this for me to have been like, wow, I want to like read this book again and see like what I possibly have missed type thing. It's possible I might read like, book 2 to give it another go in a bit once we kind of get through what we're reading now. But it's one of those things where it would without that context, it was hard to care enough about the characters to want to like see, which is a bummer because I was really excited about the premise of this, and I don't think it's something that you should necessarily like pass up. I think it's something people should give a go. I just don't think it necessarily worked for me personally.
Yeah, it's always hard when a book lands this way because like you said, I liked the bones. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the story, and I am interested to see where it goes next. So maybe I'm going to give this category a 0.25 in that like I do care about I am interested to see what happens in this world, right? Like what happens with the fates. Does she unite them all? Do they win? Does Zahara take her rightful place as a fate? It's just it was tough contextually for me to really feel drawn in and immersed in this one.
Yeah,
So and because of that, I'm not itching to be like jumping right back into the second one. So,
that's fair. So I
but
think overall,
yeah,
5 out of 10.
yeah, I think that's where we both landed. Yeah,
Thanks. Yeah. Either way, thank you again, Nick, for sending us this book. Glad we got to read your story and see your writing process and everything like that. Eventually, hopefully, we'll get to book two. We'll see what happens.
We shall see.
We shall
We'll add it to the
see.
backlog.
We'll add it to the backlog. It's got such a cool premise. I wanna give it another shot. So we'll see what happens. I've already said this. I already said we'll see what happens. How many times have I said we'll see what happens in the last
Are you rounding the stone?
Wow, full circle.
That's crazy. Full circle. Yikes. Chat, are we cooked? But yeah, thanks, Nick, for giving us this book. We are jumping now back into Verda, right?
Back in Verda. Philip Quain Trails, book 7. Knights of Erdor. Yeah, that's where we're headed back into. We want to finish this series soonish, because we enjoy it. And not that we haven't, we've done a couple in betweeners, that have been
Yeah.
good that we've
We
enjoyed
read-
too.
We
We've been
read
trying
Flame
to make
Spitter and we read Rack and Ruin,
Safe Scumming. We've been trying to get some things in
Shadow and
between.
Bone.
Shadow and Bone. Get things in between. We usually read one in between each book, I feel like, but definitely between each like
Trilogy, yeah.
I think we have a book lined up for in between 7 and 8 already. Which we're not 100%. We're between 2 of them, so we will decide.
For now, it's a secret known only to us and not you, dear reader,
Dun, dun, dun,
dear
dun.
listener.
But anyway,
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining. I do want to leave with one last comment. I do think people should still check out this book because just because it didn't work out for us doesn't mean it won't work out for you. It's definitely got good bones. It's got a good premise. If you love supporting indie authors, if you like fantasy, if you like gods controlling humans as the pawns in their big schemes of games, this might be for you. So definitely go ahead and I would still check this out. It might be your hidden gem. Who knows?
It may be. Give it a shot. Check out The Waking of Storm and Flame by N.A. Betts.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. We love all of you.